I don't want to hear Dak Prescott after the game saying the fans were in the right, throwing garbage at the refs. I don't want to hear Mike McCarthy saying, there should have been no issue spotting the ball. The final play of the game was all on the Cowboys and their lack of execution in a big moment, which has happened all season long, and again, starts with coaching. Because number one, the first person to blame on that last play is Dak Prescott. You got to give the ball to the ref. You cannot try to be spotting your own ball. You got to know the rules. And the Cowboys, in the big moment, had these small things perk up and ruin their season. It is small details like that. Knowing who to get the ball to, getting set, knowing how much time, is on the clock, and knowing how far you can run in order to still get a playoff is all important things teams should know and teams should practice before running a play like that. And speaking of practice, it's perfect because Mike McCarthy said after the game, they practice that play every single week. Well, let me ask you something, Mike. One or two things are true, or let me tell you something, I guess. One or two things are true here. Either that's the case, and the Cowboys are practicing that play, but they're practicing it wrong, or he lied, and they really don't do it too much, and that's why the team was, in confusion and in chaos at the end of the game, and they weren't able to get another playoff. Like, if you're the Cowboys, and if you're Mike McCarthy, you got to know, number one, first and foremost here, how much time you have left and how much, how to execute that play. Like, if he claims they practice that every week like they do, well, they're practicing it wrong, and that's on the head coach. Again, as soon as Dak Prescott slides, it goes down, what do you got to do? Find the ref. You can't get the play off, you can't get the snap off until the ref touches the ball. I mean, I know that. I'm not a football player. We just watch the games. Any fan knows, all right, the ref's got to, put the ball in play. You can't just be setting your own ball. That'll lead to chaos. So everyone knows, all right, the ref's got to get involved here, and that should be the first person Dak Prescott looks for. Instead, the mechanics are messed up. They do not do that. It takes an extra few seconds, and next you know, those few precious seconds are the difference between getting one more playoff and your season ending. So either Mike McCarthy is right, and they practice this every single week, but they're practicing it poorly, which again goes back to showing if you're Jerry Jones, you're really going to employ Mike McCarthy to continue to coach your team and coach them poorly, or he lied, they don't practice it, and you had Mike McCarthy not having your team prepared. Which one is it? Either one is really bad. Either scenario is really a bad look on the head coach and really a bad look for the Cowboys overall. Because again, it shouldn't be that surprising. It shouldn't be that hard at the end of the game to execute this to perfection. But speaking of execute, that's something the Cowboys couldn't do all game long, and really something the Cowboys didn't do at any point this season against a good opponent. When they play someone that is at a similar talent level or greater, the Cowboys have shrunk, and the Cowboys have let these small things beat them all season long. Look at yesterday. Cowboys committed 14 penalties. 14 penalties. A lot of them are pre-snap. That's on focus or lack thereof. False starts, offsides, defensive holding. How often do you see that? Not once, but twice. And both were the right call. I don't know what the hell the Cowboys are doing. It looks like they're playing their own game where the rules don't apply to them. All of those small things are about focus and attention to detail, both of which were lacking from Dallas in this game. And that's a reflection straight on the head coach. Not having them prepared to play. Not having them focusing on the small details. We're in the playoffs, we know. It's literally a game of inches. These smallest things always come back to bite you. You think that holding call on DeMarcus Lawrence late in the game had a small impact on the game? As the 49ers were trying to run the clock? You would have gave, eventually, the ball back to the offense with more time on the clock than what they had. It's those small things that continue to bubble to the surface for the Cowboys in the big moment that leads to their demise. Like the 14 penalties were a play or a tied-up playoff record. I mean, what are we doing? This is already, again, the team with the most penalties in the NFL. So this is not a one-off. This is not just a bad game where everything's gone bad. All season long, the Cowboys have had a lack of discipline on both sides of the ball. They have not followed the rules. And the penalties go back to coaching. Poor technique, poor focus, poor fundamentals.